Hello, we're new video. Today we're going to take a look at the best Paldean Pokemon for the Master League. If you haven't seen already the videos prior, which were for the Ultra and for the Great League, definitely check them out. If you don't want to get spoiled, just click away the video, then most likely would be the best thing. Leave a like please if you haven't done this yet, because this is always a lot of work. And let's go straight into the Pokemon. First off, let's take a look at one of the cover legendaries, which is going to be Koraidon. Koraidon is a very cool Pokemon. Actually really like the design. Very cool boy. Don't have the game for this one, but I still have it on my game now. This Pokemon has access to Counter, Dragon Claw, and Close Combat. The one thing with this game is there are not a lot of people, not a lot of Pokemon that learn Counter, which is very good that this one can learn Counter, because Counter is not a TM. Counter has to be learned by normal level up. And this Pokemon can do this, which is amazing. Koraidon will be able to learn Counter just by leveling up. So this moveset here is very likely, because all of those are level up moves. I would expect them to give him a fighting and a dragon type move as well, because it's a dragon and the fighting type, and Counter as a fast move does make the most sense. Well, let's take a look what it can do in the open league here, open Master League here. We're going to see also the stats here, of course, and we will see that this Pokemon has some nice potential. Of course, Charm Pokemon completely destroy this, Mewtwo completely destroy this, Lugia will have its fun, but otherwise you're going to be able to do some nice damage. Also against the Dialga you would win, against a lot of Pokemon you would win. You would be having a dragon that finally actually really beats the steel types as well, like the Metagross, like the Melmetal as well here. And it's actually a very cool Pokemon in terms of the stats as well as the potential move pool and the typing. Let's take a look at the other one here. We're going to have the Miraidon here. I just gave it the Dragon Breath, Thunder Shock, and also Dragon Claw and Discharge. There's not a lot of moves that it can really learn that are really helping it or putting it a little bit higher. It has the same stats as before the other Pokemon, the Koraidon here. It's not too crazy to be fair, but it has pretty decent results here as well. It's basically the same typing as well as the the Zekrom, and so it's kind of comparable to this one. I don't actually know who wins here, Zekrom or this one. Zekrom actually loses, so we are better than Zekrom now. That's very nice. Of course, only if it learns those moves. It could learn other moves as well, so definitely a Pokemon that can have some potential here. I think the other one going to be a little bit more exciting though. Now we're going to go for some Pokemon that are a little bit interesting. Those are some future slash past Pokemon again. This one here, Iron Moth, sadly doesn't have any fast move in terms of poison moves, and also doesn't learn Incinerate, which is kind of bad. So it doesn't really have the craziest ones here. It has a very nice stats though. Look at this, it gets to maybe 4,400 CP. It could have Flame Charge, could have Sludge Wave, also would learn theoretically Acid Spray, would learn Lunge. Most likely is this as a moveset here. Fire plus Poison is very cool as kind of a Master League version of Salazzle. But again, sadly, because of the lacking fast move here, this Pokemon has very high stats, but I felt just short. If it would have a better fast move, I think it would have actually a lot of potential, but sadly the fast move really lacks here. Another funny Pokemon here going to be the Iron Thorns. Iron Thorns going to be another future Pokemon here for Tyranitar. Gets to a very nice amount of CP here as well. Has access to Rock Slide, Wild Charge, and Volt Switch, which might be the coolest moveset there yet for this. Electric and Rock, basically a very big Alolan Graveler here. And this Pokemon is one of my favorite design-wise. I really like the design of it as kind of a robot. And let's take a look what this can do in the Master League. It's actually pretty neutral. Thought it would be a little bit worse, because you get hardwalled by Dialga, you get hardwalled by a lot of Pokemon, also something like the Swampert here, but you still have some potential to beat some stuff, and maybe you get some good coverage moves which would help you out here as well. Otherwise you can actually beat something like even Kyogre here. Thing is, you have a very good nuke move. I really expect that they at least give him the Wild Charge and the Rock Slide. Otherwise you don't really have the best fast moves, like a Rock Throw you might be able to go for, but then it really looks not that real. And also if you go for this now, it would be way worse, so I hope we're gonna get the Volt Switch version of it someday. Now let's take a look at one of the past Pokemon here, which is going to be a Fluttermane. This is basically a Misterius or whatever as a past version, which has very low stamina, but I think for this Pokemon it's not really the worst, because if you really take a look at the moves that really do a lot of damage, there's one that really stands out which is bad against this Pokemon, which would be the in the Shadow Claw, of course, because it would be super effective and you don't really have a lot of stamina for it. But for other things like counter, you double resist it. For Dragon Breath, you double resist it. So like the main damaging fast moves here really are not that difficult for you. And you have a pretty nice defense stat as well and very nice attack. Sadly, you don't learn Shadow Claw, but you learn Charm and Hex. Let's take a look at both versions here. You also have some other options here with the moveset, but Hex is definitely very likely that you get it. And you would have a very good matchup in general for the Master League as well, beating a ton of Pokemon, like all the dragons basically. Even Zacian doesn't really like you, especially with the moves that it runs usually, because the close combat and the quick attack are both double resisted basically. You're going to be kind of meta slayer with this as well. Like, look at how many matchups you win, which is really cool. Against Mewtwo you lose, which is actually interesting. Very interesting actually, because you have double resistant. No, you don't resist the Side Strike. That's most likely right. I thought you were part a Psychic type, but I guess not. So this is definitely also a very cool Pokemon I'm looking forward to. The next one going to be a Pokemon that we already had before as well for the Ultra League, which is going to be Ting-Lu, which I showcased before because this Pokemon has a very low attack and very decent stats still. So we can take a look at this one here as well. Let's take a look at Snarl, Dark Pulse and Earthquake, and we see it is a very strong Pokemon for this league, as it can counter something also like Dialga. Like, you have Earthquake for this, you have a nice bulk. Of course, still the typing isn't the best, as you can see as well. A lot of water types, a lot of Charmeleons, a lot of like fairy types in general. Wario, something like a Landorus also is pretty decent thanks to Superpower, because they're part dark type of course, but still very cool Pokemon here. Getting hard Volt though from the Zarude, but you have to get the Zarude first, but this one will be a very cool one as well. The next Pokemon going to be Kingambit. This Pokemon is the evolution of Bishop, so Bishop going to get another evolution as well, and this makes this Pokemon definitely viable for the Master League, getting to 4000 CP here, 4100 nearly. Having access to a lot of good moves like Snarl and Night Slash and Iron Head, we're going to just give it the same moveset that the pre-evolution has, so that's most likely going to be a moveset that's very likely at least. And we see that it has a lot of potential as well. Has of course some hard counters like the Groudon, but definitely has some potential to beat a lot of Pokemon as well. If you give it, like, for example, the coverage move Focus Blast, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage against the Steel types as well, which is going to be cool. Of course, you lose your option against Xerneas, but in general, the typing itself is pretty decent for this meta. You're going to be hard-walling Mewtwo, which is nice, and you're going to be able to have options against the Dialga, which you can resist the fast moves, and Iron Head, and also theoretically Draco Meteor is still going to do a ton of damage because it's Dialga. But you also have the access to Iron Head for the Zacian, which is going to be nice. Of course, close combat will completely destroy you. Next up, we're going to have one of the Pokemon that are again like a past version of a Pokemon. This is going to be a past version of Mega Salamence here, which is going to be Roaring Moon. This is the one going to be a Dragon and Dark typing. Having access to Snarl, Ice, the Dragon Claw and the Night Slash is cool, but it also learns Dragon Breath, which is most likely going to be a little bit better if you have a moveset like this. Going to actually lose more than I thought it would. This Pokemon itself is basically an upgrade for a Dragon most likely. Maybe Snarl is actually better, who knows. But of course, again, you're going to get hard-walled. No, it's actually not going to get hard-walled by Fairy type. So most likely the typing itself just doesn't really help you too much. There's not a lot that you can do. Maybe Crunch is a little bit better as well. But this Pokemon itself, very cool one. Like, in terms of design, really top-notch, but like otherwise, most likely the typing kind of is a letdown for it. The equivalent for the other game here going to be Iron Valiant, which is going to be a future form for the Mega Glade and the Mega Gardevoir together basically here. It's going to have a high attack stat, but not really good defenses and stamina. And the thing with this Pokemon is, as well, as you can see here, this is like the issue with like fighting types. A lot of fighting types don't learn counter, and those can have to rely on other moves, most like Shadow Claw, very likely Shadow Claw to be fair, or Psycho Cut here. Otherwise, you don't really have a good fighting type moves, which is kind of sad. But you at least have something like Close Combat and Leaf Blade to make up for it. Also, you would have Moonblast, which would be nice. But Leaf Blade, I would actually really think that we're going to get this. Like, usually the wild versions of this Pokemon also learn Leaf Blade already, and you're going to have this already on Glade, so it would make a lot of sense. It's basically Glade's moveset, but a different fast move there. Doesn't learn Confusion or anything like this, but let's take a look how good this would be, and this one would be very, very good. The typing itself, if you didn't see, Fairy and Fighting is a very cool typing as well, because basically Fairy types are weak against Steel Pokemon, and you have something to counter Steel Pokemon here, while there is no good Steel Fast move, or Charge move to be fair really. You're going to be able to have a great time with this Pokemon here, basically doing a lot of damage against nearly everything, which is nice, even against Mewtwo. I mean, it's like Side Strike is super effective, so it's going to destroy you. But other than this, there are a lot of good matchups that this Pokemon would have, which would be amazing. For the final one here, we're going to have the pseudo-legendary of this region, which is going to be Baxcalibur, which is Ice and Dragon type. It's basically like a Kyurem, I guess. But this Pokemon has access to Dragon Tail, very likely Dragon Claw, maybe Icicle Spear. It learns Icicle Spear while like we are an Egg move basically, which is cool. Otherwise it learns Icy Wind as well from a very slow level already, so it's very likely that we actually get Icy Wind on this Pokemon, which would be nice. And this would most likely be the changer for this Pokemon. It might give it some play. It's very neutral against a lot of Pokemon thanks to Icy Wind. Of course, Fairies and Dragons and Steel types going to wall it, but for the rest I think you have some potential. But it's not going to be the craziest Pokemon either. It's not going to be the best pseudo-legendary for the generations either. Like, there are better ones that just have better typings. Ice typing in general is not really the best typing for most Pokemon, but I mean, it's fine. This is going to be it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'll leave a like on the video, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!